Hello and welcome to One Man Think Tank. The Democrats have finally released their $15 an hour minimum wage increase bill, the Raise the Wage Act, and I thought I'd go over it with you. Now, normally what I like to do is critique and improve, and I'm going to have one of these for this bill. Now that it's out, I just need some time to go through and actually produce the video. But what I thought I would do is actually take a moment to praise the bill, something not many people are doing, because many people seem to, on the left especially, seem to have decided they want to more so portray it as the Democrats aren't doing literally everything, thus it is a bad bill. But this bill's it's literally the everything that's being asked for by the raise the wage movement. The everything past that, if you hear someone talking $20 an hour, tying it to productivity, stuff like that, that's all stuff that wasn't being talked about until $15 went mainstream. In many ways, the Raise the Wage Act is going to make the U.S. minimum wage the best minimum wage in the world in how many people it covers and its total payout, but we're going to go through it. I'm going to go through the various provisions and explain why they're so good. So this is also, we're on the Economic Policy Institute. They did a little fact sheet, which is great and helpful, and you can find it just by going to their website. It's currently pinned on the front. Now, so the immediate focus is, of course, the Raise the Wage Act raises the minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2025. Now, people want it to, of course, be raised to $15 tomorrow, but there are economic reasons and political reasons why you don't do that. However, this is actually very interesting because the last bill, which was the Raise the Wage Act of 2019, also raised it to $15 an hour by 2025. So it's becoming more and more clear the Democrats were planning for a $15 an hour by the end of Biden's term, no matter what. So this is a interesting little tidbit. So their time scale actually decreased from 6 years to 4. So to give you an idea, if it were to pass, the minimum wage would immediately be raised to $9.50, and then it would increase at steps of roughly $1.50 until 2025, when it becomes $15 an hour. At that point, and this is an improvement on what it was previously, the minimum wage would be adjusted to keep pace with the growth of the median wage. Now, for those of you who don't remember high school math class, the median is the exact middle in a set of numbers. So not the average, but the median. And that's very good for people who are earning the minimum wage, because before it didn't increase. That's part of the reason why we have to have bills increase it every time. But then the talk was, okay, we'll increase it by pricing it to inflation, meaning the minimum wage would never lose value, but it wouldn't gain value either. Now tying it to the median wage means it's going to grow with the rough rate that your average U.S. worker's wages grow. Not as good as it could be, but it is a very, very useful metric, as it will cause the minimum wage to default gain a little bit of value. To give you an idea, if we're using 2020 numbers, the median wage gained about $2 over the 40 years between 1980 and 2020. So not that much, but it is an increase as opposed to not increasing at all. And to be clear, that's inflation-adjusted numbers. So we're using 2020 numbers in both because, of course, the value of money decreases as time goes on because of inflation. It also gets rid of sub-minimum wages, the ones for tipped workers and the ones for those with disabilities or youth workers, those under the age of 20. Sorry, I lost the word for youth. This is great because virtually every country in the world, if they have a minimum wage, says if you're below either 20 or in some cases 25, you don't get as much as anyone else for doing the exact same amount of work. This will eliminate that, and that's very progressive and is what has been one of the big goals for minimum wage activists for so many years. Basically, this is going to set us up for any future fights going to mostly be a matter of is not going to be a case of will people be able to survive on the minimum wage. It's going to be how well can people survive on the minimum wage? What is a good standard of living, which is a much better conversation to be having. Here it just talks about how it mostly is going to impact families and who it impacts. It is going to narrow the racial pay gap quite a bit, because that mostly comes from the fact that if you come from a minority background, you are more likely to end up at the minimum wage due to, a long-standing history of segregation and racism. And it's just showing this isn't just helping poor people, this is helping everyone. And now, as you can see, almost 10 subdivisions, 9 states, and 1 District of Columbia have raised their minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2026, which is also a good sign that things are, changing. Most of the country's already adjusting. And there should be one last change here, if I can find it. Let's see. Yes, here we go. The job losses. There will be job losses. Anyone who says that raising the minimum wage doesn't come with job losses doesn't know what they're talking about. However, these are in some ways slightly beneficial job losses, because it's mostly coming from people who have to work 1 to 2 to 3 jobs an hour. If you can do that, that's pretty impressive. 1 to 2 to 3 jobs a day, a week, a month to earn a living wage, no longer needing those jobs. And thus they don't show up because to those ones, so they can lose 2 jobs, only work 1, and they are de facto having their work week shrink from maybe being, 100 or 80 hours to, 40 hours. And that starts to open up discussions about decreasing the work week. Fixing our minimum wage is the pathway forward to decreasing the work week, decreasing working hours, or tying it to production and such. But like I said, getting to that in the future. But this really will be probably result in the US having maybe the most progressive minimum wage in the world. Now, do we rest on our laurels? Of course not. But this is good. There's a lot of people who are going to be both on the right and the left saying, oh, this is a middling bill. This is a bad bill. How could Democrats introduce this? It's not even $20 an hour. It's not even tied to productivity. What are they even trying? To which I have to say, the reason we don't have those 2 things, because it's mostly those 2 things. There's some other stuff I think we could add, but like I said, future video. The reason we can have those discussions is because $15 an hour and the rest of the things in this bill have gone mainstream. We should be happy about that. If things go as I think they will, in 2 months, this bill's going to be law, and we're going to be able to focus on the future, on making the minimum wage even better. So with all that being said, if you like the video, drop a like and a comment down below. If you want to hear more from the channel, click the subscribe button and the notification bell to be alerted when new content is released. And as always, have a wonderful day.